The first strike was a blur, fast and uncontrolled. A flash of anger aimed at a recruit who hadn't even provoked him. Pain and shock rippled through the room, a jolt of chaos in the middle of an already tense training exercise. The wrong target, the wrong moment. And in that instant, a career hung in the balance. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're rewatching from. I love knowing who's listening. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Harlow had trained for years to be precise, disciplined, and controlled. His record was exemplary until this moment. His fists had always struck with purpose, his mind calculating every action, but fatigue, frustration, and a moment of arrogance had collided to shatter all of that. He hadn't just attacked a recruit, he had violated the most sacred principle of SEAL leadership: trust and control. The training hall smelled of sweat, gunpowder, and tension. Sunlight streamed through the high windows, cutting swaths of light across dust and sweat-soaked uniforms. In the chaos, recruits froze, some recoiling, others wide-eyed in confusion. The room's usual rhythm shouts, orders, coordinated drills, paused, held hostage by one impulsive act. Colonels and senior instructors rushed forward, eyes sharp, voices cutting through the sudden silence. "Stand down," the senior-most officer barked, and every soldier obeyed, instincts honed through years of discipline kicking in. Harlow stopped, chest heaving, hands tense, eyes darting between the injured recruit and the commanding officers who now surrounded him. He thought he could explain that maybe, just maybe, his years of service would shield him. But the room was silent, expectant, as the colonels assessed the scene. Their gaze was precise, cutting through pretense. One misstep here, one lapse in judgment, and even the most decorated officer could be held accountable. The recruit he had struck, a young man barely out of basic training, held himself upright, grimacing but otherwise unharmed. Fear mingled with anger in the eyes of those around him, whispering a question the room collectively knew. How could someone so experienced lose control so completely? Harlow's mind raced. He had faced hostile environments, life-or-death scenarios, and missions where a single wrong move meant failure or worse. Yet here, in a controlled environment designed to train and perfect, he had failed. Morally, mentally, and professionally. The senior colonels conferred quietly, voices low but commanding. They weighed years of service against one moment of catastrophic judgment. They knew the stakes. Leadership could never tolerate such recklessness. An example mattered more than experience alone. One wrong strike could erode trust, set a dangerous precedent, and compromise every mission he would ever lead. As the minutes passed, tension coiled in the hall like a living thing. Recruits whispered among themselves, fear and fascination mingling in the air. Harlow felt the walls closing in, the weight of expectation, respect, and authority crashing down on him. He had always believed strength alone defined a leader, but he was learning a painful truth. Restraint, judgment, and integrity were far more critical. The colonels finally approached, their footsteps deliberate, echoing across the polished floor. Harlow straightened, a hollow defiance in his chest. Yet as the senior-most officer spoke, words clipped but piercing, he realized the finality of the moment. "Lieutenant Commander Harlow," the officer said, voice steady, voice without malice but heavy with authority, "you have failed this standard. You have endangered a recruit. Your actions today are incompatible with the responsibility we place in our SEAL officers. Your career is ended." The room held its collective breath. Shock, disbelief, and quiet acceptance collided in a single wave. Harlow's eyes widened, a flash of anger, then shame, then stunned comprehension. His career, the accolades, the missions, the sacrifices, had been undone in a single, uncalculated moment. He had always believed courage alone defined a SEAL. But courage without control is chaos. Leadership without judgment is destruction. And today, he had learned that lesson at the highest possible cost. The young recruit, now recovering, watched silently, eyes wide but understanding dawning. The lesson here was not only about one officer's failure, was about the culture of accountability. The unforgiving weight of responsibility, and the sacred trust that binds all SEALs together. Outside, the wind rattled through the base, carrying distant echoes of drills, distant shouts, and the quiet hum of preparation. Harlow left the hall, head bowed as the SEAL community absorbed the lesson. It was not vengeance or cruelty. It was the principle of leadership: strength paired with restraint, authority tempered with responsibility. The colonels returned to their duties, leaving the hall transformed. Silence lingered, reflective, filled with the realization that true leadership is measured not in victories or missions, but in judgment, control, and integrity under pressure. Because even the most skilled operator can fail in an instant, but accountability ensures that every action, every decision, and every leader honors the trust placed in them. And in that hall, the recruits learned a lesson they would carry forever: respect authority, value judgment over force, and remember that leadership is a responsibility, not a reward. Because courage without control is meaningless, but courage with integrity shapes heroes. If this story inspired you, comment where you're watching from. Share it with someone who values discipline and leadership, and subscribe to Whispered Words for more cinematic, emotional, and unforgettable military mission stories.